Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to another edition of Islam for Europeans. I'm your host, Robert, and with me today is my dear brother, Bilal, from the Feachaz YouTube channel. That's Feachaz. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes. Okay. And Bilal talks about a lot of race-related issues within the Muslim community. And Bilal is also my fellow Canadian, currently living in Ottawa, the capital. So inshallah, once this pandemic is over, we're going to have to meet each other in person.
Inshallah.
Yeah. And I just, thank you so much for coming onto our channel, Brother Bilal. So we'll do this in three. We'll do no problem. We'll do this in three parts. First, I'll let you, introduce yourself, and I just want to make this, your opportunity to say what you want in your own style, but just give a brief description of how you came into Islam as a young Black Canadian male in Toronto, and how the game, when you first converted, how it was being in that atmosphere, and then just gradually go into what were some of the challenges that you faced, and how that changed over time. I'll just let you.
Well, mashallah, this is actually a good beginning, actually. Jazakallah khair. Wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam wa sallallahu wa barakatuh. So, essentially, how I came into Islam, how was it? Well, I was essentially introduced to Islam by a project I did when I was in grade 7. All right, so in grade 7, I was in Catholic school, and we were told to do these projects on world religions. And I wanted to do something that wasn't Christianity. That's all I knew, right? Because I was already a Christian. I believed in Christianity. It was like something that I believed in already, right? And I was an altar boy and all kinds of stuff, right? So I wanted to do something that wasn't Christianity. So I asked my teacher, can I do Hinduism? And she said, well, we already have a group for that. Pick something else. And I said, can I do Buddhism? She said, we have a group for that. Pick something else. So what's left now? There's 5 great religions, right? So there's Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism. So Hinduism and Buddhism are out, right? And by default, every Christian understands Judaism or something about Judaism, right? So, but Islam, I never even heard what Islam was before. I said, what's Islam? And she said, they believe some similar things to Christians, but they don't believe that Jesus is God. I said, really? Okay, let me study that. Right? So I did, right? And I saw that he didn't believe that Jesus was God. He didn't believe that Jesus died on the cross or anything like that, right? And that was kind of like my first introduction to Islam. Of course, I thought these Muslims were crazy because if you don't believe Jesus is God, okay, but how can you say that Jesus didn't die on the cross, right? So, but I'm reading all of this through Encyclopedia Britannica. Those days there was no internet.
Yeah.
So then I get into high school, right? And the high school I go to was a public school, and I meet Muslims for the first time. And long story short, one of my friends gave me a cassette from Louis Farrakhan, right? And this is the first Islamic speaker I ever heard, right? Now, at that time, I didn't know he was a Muslim, right? To me, I don't know. I'm just listening to the cassette, right? So he's saying in this cassette, the white man is a devil. And I'm thinking about it like, yeah, the white man is a devil. Right now, you got me. Right? Right? And then, of course, you find out more about Islam and everything. But the point is, the first cassette I ever got, it didn't come from a Sunni or anybody in the Islamic circles. It came from a person giving me a cassette from Louis Farrakhan, right? And if you ever heard Louis Farrakhan speak, you're going to know this man is a very articulate speaker. Despite whatever differences you might have on his belief system, he does know what he's talking about when he's talking about politics and issues within the Black community, right? That's his niche. He knows that stuff very well. So The very first book I got was actually the very first Islamic book. I got it gifted again. It was a book called Introduction to Islam. It was actually a book from the Rafida Shia, right? Now, at that time, that's the first book I got, right? So I didn't know that anything about Sunni, Shia, Nation of Islam, nothing. I didn't know anything, right? To me, it's all one thing about at that time, right? So this was in, I want to say 89, 90, right? 1989, 1990 times, right? So eventually, right, after listening to some more Farrakhan cassettes, I took my Shahada, right? I became Muslim, right? But I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about these groups, right? To me, it's all one thing, right? I literally thought that all Muslims, believed that the white man was the devil, right? That's what I was believing, right? Because no Muslims came and told me this stuff. Then I got the Shia book, and I thought that, the Shia was like, I didn't know what a Shia was, right? But I thought, when you call the adhan, and I learned, this is how I learned to call the adhan, right? From the book, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, Ashhadu an Ali Wali Allah. Ashhadu an Ali, that means, I bear witness that Ali is a friend of Allah. But that's how I learned to call the adhan. Because in those days, there was no information. There was legit, like no information, nothing. All right. So even in those days, there were only 2 masajid in all of Toronto at that time. So there was, now look how many, right? You've been to Toronto, right? Yes, exactly. But in those days, there's only 2, right? So there was Tariq Mosque and Jami Mosque, right? And then Islamic Foundation was just, I don't know if you've been to Islamic Foundation in Scarborough, but it used to be a house, okay? Now it's this massive building, right? You understand? It's this huge building with a basketball court and everything like that, multi-level school, everything, right? But it just used to be a house in the beginning, right? So this is the time I became Muslim, you understand? No internet, no Islamic bookstores, no masjid in Brampton. I lived in Brampton at that time, right? And I was 15 years old when I became Muslim.
Wow.
You understand? So all the information that I got about Islam is from myself actually, seeking it. Like nobody came to me and told me about Islam. You understand? Right. So as my journey continued, and I started getting older, then I don't know if you know this brother Abu Shahada Abdashid. I don't know if you know him. He's pretty popular in the Toronto Dallas scene.
I think so. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think my friends talked about him a few times. Yeah. I was in the Khalid Yassine era. That's when I converted.
Yeah. So yes. So what year was that?
I converted in 2003.
Yeah. Okay. So Khalid Yassine, he became really popular, I want to say in the late 90s or so, right? Or the mid to late 90s with a cassette that he had. It's called What is the Purpose of Life? Right?
Yep.
So you came like right at the I want to say at the apex, right? When Khalid Yassine was like, kind of popular, right? But it was a cassette, right? So in 2003, people were kind of moving from cassettes to CDs and whatnot, right? Did you listen to the cassette or CD?
The CD. Yeah.
The CD, right?
And we actually, my friends actually met him, and they were like huge fans of his.
Mhm.
And they had a conversation with him. They were pumped, and he was supposed to go to Riz, but they ended up canceling. They had a fallout or something. That was like in 2006.
Typical, right? But anyway,
we won't get into that.
We won't get into that right now, right? But anyway, the Khalid Yassine, he had this. It was a cassette tape, and thousands of people became Muslim just because of this one tape. It's called "What Is the Purpose of Life?" And I strongly suggest if anybody get a chance to listen to this cassette, just listen to it. Especially if you're not Muslim, it'll probably change your life, right? So, so I kind of seeing all this stuff happen, like with Khalid Yassine and all this kind of stuff. I'm growing up, and Abu Shahada, like he's running this program called Dawah Dynamics out of Toronto or whatnot, right? So he has his own Dawah thing. But we used to go to the same school together, and he was like my older brother, right? So when he would go to Tariq Masjid, because I was only 15 years old, right? He would drive me, right? So, he was the one who's taking me back and forth to Tariq and everything like that. And there's another brother, his name is Hannibal, right? But he became like a hardcore Shia, like a Rafida Shia, right? And other brothers like Alphas, brother Alphas Karamats, and but these were like it was like kind of like a small group of brothers from Brampton, right? At that time, right? So a lot of people don't know this part of the history, right, of the Dawah scene in Toronto, but there was like a West Dawah scene, like Brampton, like us brothers there, and then there was like a West Toronto Dawah scene, and then the East Toronto Dawah scene, right? Right. So that's how it was back in those days, right? So the West Toronto Dawah scene was the kind of like the Tariq Mosque people, right? So and then we were part of that, like we because Tariq Mosque was close to us, and then we would be back and forth at Tariq Mosque, and Sheikh Abdullah Hakim Quick would give khutbahs there once every 4 Jummahs, because they had like a lineup for the Jummahs khutbahs, and those days, like after I got through the Nation of Islam phase, and I found out, okay, Nation Islam is not real Muslims, right? I didn't know.
Me too.
I didn't know. How am I supposed to know? All I know is that this man is speaking some hardcore stuff, man. It's better than what I believe, that's for sure. You know what I mean? So that's all I know, right? Yeah. So now, you go to the mosque, right? And in the 90s or whatnot, early 90s, and it was just brotherhood. It was just like, it wasn't what you see today. It was just like brotherhood. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like we're all brother. We all love each other for the sake of Allah. You know what I mean? Like we had all kinds of brothers from everywhere, like Egypt and Pakistan and Sudan and everywhere. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. And nobody like had this type of like the masajid of today. They're not masajid. Okay, let's call them what they are. They're not mosques, they're not masajid, they're cultural centers. You understand? And the first time I saw the rise of a cultural center, I was in Brampton. And the first mosque opened up in Brampton was a Torban. It's called Torban Mosque, right? And I went there, and the same brother Abu Shahada, he said these guys are Tabligis. I said, Tablighi? What's a Tablighi? I don't know any of this stuff, right? I don't know. What's a Tablighi? I'm like, what? Groups in Islam? What? It was like, I thought we're all just Muslim. I thought we are just supposed to believe in Allah and pray, make salah and fast in Ramadan.
You have to do 40 days in the path.
Yeah, exactly.
To write a passage.
40 days in the path, and you know what I mean? And like, I didn't know any of this stuff, right? Even how I found out my adhan was a Shia adhan, I found out by accident. It's just a complete fluke, right? We were at this brother, his name was Imam Bilal Muhammad. He was with Warith Adin Muhammad community. And again, I didn't know anything about any of this stuff, okay. Right? I didn't know what Warith Adin Muhammad was, right? So as time for Salat came, and I asked if I can call the adhan, because I've been practicing this adhan in this book, right?
Oh my. Yeah.
So I must have been like 16 or something like that, 16, 17. I was young anyway, right? So yeah, sure, Bilal called the adhan. So I called the adhan, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah, ashhadu an Ali wali Allah, like that. Like, what did he just say?
Wow.
What did Bilal just say? And he asked that, what did Bilal just say? He said, I bear witness that, Ali is the friend of Allah. He says, here, this from the Shia adhan. And then with Shia, what's a Shia? You have the Sunnis and you have the Shia. What's a Sunni? I don't know what a Sunni was, Yeah, I didn't know what a Sunni was. I don't know what a Shia was. All this stuff had to be taught to me, right? So, but that was kind of like my journey. Like I went through several of these groups. the majority of the time, I didn't know what these groups were, right? They had the Nation of Islam, you had the Shia, you had the Ansar Allah, I had all these type of groups. And when a convert converts to Islam, right, they don't convert to Islam to join a group, right? When somebody becomes a Muslim, they become a Muslim because they want to worship Allah. They want to actually follow the truth, right? And that was my thinking in the entire time I became Muslim, right? Even at the time when I was listening to Farrakhan, my whole idea was that I want to worship Allah, right? But it's other people who are teaching you about these groups that kind of steer you in that direction. You understand? And I've witnessed the rise of the cultural center masjid, because that wasn't a thing. There was a point of time that was not a thing, right? In Jami Mosque, it wasn't a thing. Jami was the first mosque in Toronto. We used to be a church, right? And they bought the church and turned it into a mosque in Toronto, right? And Sheikh Abdul Hakim Quirk, he was the imam there for a long time. And then eventually that turned into a cultural center, just like Tariq Mosque. Eventually it became a cultural center. Even though there was a time it wasn't like, even Islamic Foundation, it wasn't like that before. It wasn't like how you see today, like Jamaat Tabligh. As a matter of fact, it used to be an Ikhwani masjid. A lot of people don't know that.
Wow.
It used to be an Ikhwani masjid, right? And what happened was the Ikhwan, because they have these elections and whatnot, they believe in, the democratic process, but they didn't realize there were Hizbis or partisans that are more Hizbi or partisan than they are, which is Jamaat Tabligh. So through the democratic process, right, with voting, Jamaat Tabligh eventually took over that mosque.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that about the history. Yes, this is happening in Toronto, right? But if you haven't seen it, then how are you going to know? You understand? If you haven't seen the times where Tariq Masjid was like, Tariq Masjid used to be the place to be, bro. Like, we used to just go there because we loved it. We loved the brotherhood. We loved the companionship. We loved the mosque. We just loved it. You know what I mean? The whole atmosphere was just like, we wanted to put as much time as we possibly could at Tariq Mosque, because the whole vibe was just love and brotherhood, and we just meet each other for the sake of Allah and then leave each other for the sake. That's how Tariq Mosque was. It was like that, like legit, Allah, actually, right? But now it's, it's a cultural thing. You know what I mean? It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
If you go there to meet the brothers, they even in general, if you go to meet as just as brothers, they kind of get frowned on. Just talking to your brothers in the mosque and stuff like that. People don't like that, That's how it is today. You see? So that's kind of like my journey. It's short, brief. This is the summarized version.
Yeah, I came in a little bit late. I converted in 2003, but I definitely saw those changes occur.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, in the last 4 years, it's just that those changes have just gone into hyperdrive. It's just been a parabolic curve. It's, these were the changes in the 80s and 90s, and whoop, in 2015 onward. It's just like, whoa, what is going on?
Mm.
Even in Windsor, when I converted, I mean, still you see that like there are organizations that are catered to the specific needs of different nationalities that are also Muslim. So even in Windsor, you have the Somali organization, you have the Syrian organization. There's a Turkish mosque on the outskirts of Windsor. You have the mosque run by the Tablighi Jamaat on Lincoln Road. You have which started out as an umbrella mosque on Dominion, and that was kind of like what you're describing now. Everyone was all together. We were all Muslim. You can feel the brotherhood no matter where you came from. And now it's just become more and more and more divided, to the point that like, it's just become like, it's almost like it's like different Muslim countries all in one city. And
Yeah.
like, and really converts really don't really fit into any of these spaces now.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you feel the same way, or?
No, this is a fact.
Yeah.
This is not, it has nothing to do with feeling. This is an actual fact. You know what I mean? If you start building these cultural centers and calling them masajid in order to come under the umbrella of a charitable status in Ontario or Canada, right? It's not going to stop the reality of them being cultural centers.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So if you want to run a cultural center, it's not a big deal. Like if you want to run your Somali or Pakistani or whatever cultural center, Bangladeshi, like nobody really cares that much. Here's where the problem lies, right? The problem is the masjid is for who? According to Allah, the masajid lillah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The masajid, the mosque are for Allah. They're for the worship of Allah, right? And what you are telling the people with your attitude, not just your attitude, but the way that you run things, is that this mosque here, you're not going to be welcome here. And even if you were welcome here, you will never be able to participate in the activities in the mosque except for the menial, non-decision making activities that we don't want you in, because this mosque is to help our people. You feel me?
Yeah.
Right. So if you're running the mosque like that and making the people feel unwelcome, so much so that these other organized groups in Islam, these other organized Islamic groups have to build their own cultural centers. Where do the converts fit in all this? You understand?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one option is that, okay, if you want to have your cultural center and make decisions, and I think it's for some of them, it's a little bit more pernicious than that. I think a lot of them think, oh, we're here for the entire Muslim community, but all the decisions they make, are centered around their world. I'll give you a small example. We had an open house back in, like, I don't know, like 7 years ago. And this mosque in Windsor is run. Not one convert is in any position of power.
Mm-hmm.
So they had this open house. Guess what day that they had this open house on?
What?
The Super Bowl. They had the open house on the same day as the Super Bowl, and nobody came.
Of course.
So,
and that leads to another massive problem, and that is how out of touch the immigrant community is with the Western world. They really don't understand what's happening here. And so they feel that because this is a democratic society, they can run their own societies within this society and in safety, as opposed to their own home countries.
Yeah.
You feel me? So they're not looking to help converts or anything like that. They're looking to help themselves. And that's just the truth. That's just the reality. The truth is they're looking to help themselves. And because they're looking to help themselves, they don't actually accomplish that, because it's the converts that actually know how the society works. So that's why you can have an open house on the Super Bowl night and expect people to come to your open house when the Super Bowl is going on. Like, why would somebody, like, you see what I'm saying? A convert would be able to tell them this is a bad idea, right? You know. A convert was, listen, this is not a very smart thing to do. Perhaps you should delay this by a week or so, right?
Yeah, nobody watches the Pro Bowl, so
yeah. Exactly.
So if they're not gonna allow converts to be involved, I guess the next best thing would be to help converts create their own third spaces. So, hey, if you want to have this brick and mortar place for your for the Somali community, great. You want to have your brick and mortar place for the Turkish community, great. But when they say, oh, well, converts want to start even their own like get-togethers and their own networking, some of them say, okay, well, isn't this going to divide the ummah when they already have all these organizations catered to? I'll give you a perfect example. Like, someone was saying this, like, oh, this is going to divide, the community. Meanwhile, at the same time, he was organizing an iftar, for the people from his home country. And, and all and networking that way, which is important. But I mean, how do you feel
that? That's some high level hypocrisy. It's high level hypocrisy, and nobody should be afraid to say that. And not only should you be afraid to say that, but it's one thing just keep talking, you know what I mean? Like, eventually it has to reach a point where action is being made, which is what we do, right?
Yeah.
We're about the action.
Yeah.
You understand? Like, we're about the action. Like, how can you go from having a community which is favorable and friendly to converts to making them feel completely unwelcome and uncomfortable in every single one of your cultural centers? Like, how can you do that? And this is why you're gonna find, when Allah sees a people who don't appreciate his religion, what does he do with them?
Yeah, he replaces them.
He replaces them. That's what's happening to these people. They're being replaced by people like us. And it's happening right before their eyes. What they have to understand is that they can keep their cultural centers if they want. But look at your kids. Your kids ain't trying to be Somali or Pakistan. They're trying to be like us, like the converts before we converted. They're trying to be like the hip hoppers and whatever. You know what I mean? They're trying to be us. That's your kids. And that's your fault, because you were the one who excluded us from your communities. Well, we thought we were brothers. So we are brothers when we're ready to, as you so eloquently mentioned, the brother who was having a fundraiser for his home country. Now we're brothers, right? But when we want to have a fundraiser for our own people here, the converts, all of a sudden we're splitting the community. This is high level hypocrisy. It's high level hypocrisy. You didn't want to take care of us to begin with, and guess what? We don't have to ask you for anything. That's the thing that people need to understand. Allah hasn't ordered you to become a beggar. He's ordered you to become a doer and to fix the problems of the earth. This is what a Muslim does. If they're not about fixing problems, let them be replaced. Let them be replaced by themselves. We can fix the problems because the same Quran that they're reading is the same Quran we're reading. We're not reading any different Quran. If they're too stubborn, right, and too arrogant to include us in that's their bad, not our bad. Because we always see them as brothers to begin with, but we don't have to beg for brotherhood.
Well, I think there's some, people who are in between who are trying. I know a lot of, like the mosque, new mosque that opened up in Brampton, they had, these iftars specifically for converts, and they did get a good turnout. But if we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into this, a lot of these mosques, they want to have, they want to help out converts, they really do, but a lot of them don't understand really the situation that a lot of us are in. And that some of them are hiding their Islam from their family.
Exactly.
And they think that every event has to be at the mosque. And a lot of these mosques are in very busy intersections. Yeah. So when you try to explain to them, look, when they try to have an iftar and or any type of event and it's a low turnout, you try to explain to them, look, we appreciate the gesture, but at the same time, some of these events can't really occur at the mosque because they're afraid of being found out. So I'm sure a lot of them are, I'm sure some of them are sincere. But at what point do you say, you know what, like they're never really going to fully understand the situation that converts are in, and we're not really going to understand the situation that they're coming from? Or do you just wrap it up and say, we're just going to do our own thing? Or do you keep working with them, with the people who want to help, and just hopefully find some common ground?
Well, to be quite honest, we always know what situation they're from because they never let us forget. Okay. Let's be real. Let's be real. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have every single event and bazaar and fundraiser and you name it, rally and march, and this march for Palestine, this fundraiser for Syria, this fundraiser for Uyghur awareness. They don't let us forget what they're going through at all. But it's like when I did this series on, it's called Color versus Culture on my channel, right?
Yeah, I saw part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I clicked right on. I'm like, I gotta watch this.
Yeah. So I did this series, and in the second part of that series, part 2, I opened up a massive can of worms for the Muslim community that not a single Arab has. I personally never seen an Arab address, and it's so widespread in the Arab world, and that is the slavery of Black people from Africa, in Africa and in Gulf countries. Slavery. We're not talking about no. We're talking about with the slavery that you read about in 17th century America. That's slavery. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the rape of Muslim women, right, and sending back home to pregnant and stuff. Muslims are doing this. Muslims are doing this, right? So the idea that we don't know. No, we know, because they didn't let us forget about what's happening in Libya and what's happening in Lebanon. They don't let us forget that. But those same Libyans, the same ones that they don't let us forget about, are the same ones enslaving Black Africans in Libya today in 2021 and raping them and selling them and forcing them into prostitution, right? And in Lebanon, and in Saudi Arabia, and in UAE, and in Dubai, and you name it. And you name it. So if you wonder why I'm not so, I am sympathetic to my brothers. Let's make a distinction here. My brothers, I'm sympathetic to their cause. But guess who my brothers are? My brothers are the same brothers who are sympathetic to my cause. Mm. If you want me to support your people, you have to support my people. And that's how we know that if you are willing to throw my people underneath the bus while asking me to donate my money to your cause, you're not my brother. You're a leech. You're an oppressor. And your Islam doesn't save you from that.
It doesn't.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to say about that.
No, let it fly. I mean, you're absolutely, it's terrible. It's absolutely awful. Like I saw those videos, and it's just, it's disgusting. It's just.
And even after I posted that video, even up until this very day, I haven't heard a single Arab speak about. Oh no, I can't say that. There was one brother, who was it? I can't remember his name. Mutassim. I think he touched on it briefly. So I have to give him props. I have to give him respect for that, right? But other than that, they don't mention it. They're quick to mention other atrocities. But remember, this anti-Black sentiment has been happening in the Arab world as long as white supremacy has been happening. As a matter of fact, they accepted it, and it got exported to the Arab world, and they actually implemented. So if you want to see a 17th century slave system, you don't have to look any further than any Gulf country. You'll see it. Yeah. I lived in Saudi Arabia for 9 years. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they have a race-based slavery system in Saudi Arabia. It's race-based. Yes, it is. 100%. You ask anybody in Saudi Arabia today, who are the people that clean your streets? Where did they come from? Bangladesh. Who are the people who clean your sewers? Where did they come from? Ethiopia. You see what I'm saying? They know what they're doing. And on top of that, they hire them to do these menial jobs. They torture them. And on top of that, they still don't pay them. They still don't pay them on top of that. You see what I'm saying? So This is the Muslims doing it to other Muslims. You feel me? So if they're serious about the so-called Muslim unity, then they have to practice it. They can't just talk it.
Yeah.
The converts already come in with the concept in their head and in their hearts for Muslim unity. They already understand this, and this is what they want. This is what they desire. So you don't have to teach us anything about Muslim unity and dividing the Muslims. Y'all are dividing the Muslims, not us.
It's tragic. I mean, you're right. I mean, like there are Muslims who if you show them this, they'll be like, yeah, this is awful. But mosques aren't having seminars on this, or bringing it to light, or talking about it on the minbar.
Yes.
And that's the problem. It's just, from what I hear, it's just not being spoken about. It's sweeping it under the rug.
That's exactly what it is. And it's something that's like I said, I lived in Saudi Arabia for 9 years, and I don't actually like to speak against Saudis because too many people do that, right? But because I lived there for 9 years, right? There's a lot of good in Saudi. There really is, and there's so many good things, right? But when it comes to racism, that's not one of them. That's one of the most racist countries you'll find on the planet, right? It's very racist.
Yeah.
Right. So when it comes to sweeping under the rug, what they have, this thing that's deeply ingrained in and particularly in the Gulf Arabs, where they have this thing called aib. Aib means shameful. Like, you can't talk about it because it's aib. Aib. No, don't say that, it's aib. So if something is aib, they can't speak about it. So in Saudi Arabia right now, there's a tremendous problem with homosexuality. When I say tremendous, everybody knows about it. Like, it's not even hidden. And now with MBS, it's even more. Like, if you thought it couldn't even be more, it's like more. Okay, you know what I'm saying? It puts Toronto and San Francisco to shame. Wow. What's happening there? It's really, really bad. Like, it's terrible. But why don't they fix it? Why? Because talking about it is what? It's aib. It's aib. 9 years, aib. It's shameful. 9 years I lived there, and not once did I ever hear a khutbah, ever, about any imam address homosexuality. Not one time. In 9 years. In Saudi Arabia. You know what I'm saying? Nor racism, for that matter. You know what I'm saying? So they have these problems, but they don't. That's something that's ingrained in. And when you tell them that, yes, you have this is a thing, they can't believe it. They're like stunned. They're shocked. No, I'm not racist. I just think I'm better than those people. Well, one of my students told me this. We're not racist against the Bengalis. We're just better than them. Why? My student told me that. And I'm like, that's racism. The fact that you believe that you're better than Bengali because you're Saudi, they're Bengali, that's racism. That's the definition of racism. What are you talking about?
Wow. SubhanAllah. It's shocking to hear. I mean, and this is what people can generally consider to be the heartland of Islam. But, I think people have this misconception in their head from Catholicism that it's like the Vatican, but.
Yeah. It's like they have this type of utopian idea about Islam, and but when you dig deep into the history of Islam, like you don't have to even dig that deep into Islamic history. You'll find that, first of all, Saudi Arabia, what we know of Saudi Arabia, was largely neglected, throughout Islamic history. The place of significance through the Umayyad and Abbasid periods was that time this region was called, it's like a Najd region, which is in Iraq, which is Basra and excuse me, these places in Iraq. You know what I mean? This was like kind of like the knowledge center, right? Where the Shia were, right? So, and the Shia at that time, it wasn't a religious group. It was a political movement. It became a religious ideology later,
Hmm.
right? So you had a few Shia, whatchamacallit, caliphates, Fatimid, Safavid, Abbasid,
Hmm.
these were like, but they were political movements. But they were basically giving allegiance to the family of Ali, right? And it became a religious movement sometime afterwards, right? With this, particularly with the Safavids, the Safavid, they're the ones who kind of, the reason why you see Shia, for example, right now in Iran, right? Why are they Rafida Shia? Why are they Rafida Shia in Iran and the eastern part of the Arab world? It's because the Safavids, they came and they violently converted that region, which was historically Sunni, into Shia, right?
Hmm.
Right. So the idea, this utopian idea that people have, if you like, oh, Saudi Arabia is supposed to be like the the whatchamacallit, the Vatican of Islamism. It historically was never like that. Like if you were whatchamacallit, making Hajj or Umrah, there was a long period of time that if you made Hajj or Umrah, that's pretty much a death sentence because somebody will rob you, steal from you, kill you. You know what I'm saying? It
Wow.
wasn't until Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, when he came, he's the one who established security in Mecca and Medina. He's the one who set that up at the time of the Ottomans, and people don't know that. You know what I'm saying, right? So because of that, it caused like huge tension between him and the Ottomans, and now you have the Sufi Wahhabi war, right? Because of that, from those times, right? And people drag us into these arguments, and that ain't got nothing to do with us. You know what I'm saying? I got
Yeah,
nothing to do.
that was going to be my next topic because
Yeah.
a lot of times converts get drowned into these political discussions
Yeah.
and things having to do with politics that they know very little about. It's not
Mm.
part of their experience, and in the meantime, they're working menial jobs, they're not getting an education, they're not getting married. I mean, their life is
Yeah.
just passing them by. Is that something you
Yeah.
saw?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, even up until this day, up until this very day, and that's by design. I can tell you all about that, man. But to finish up with Saudi Arabia,
Hmm.
Saudi Arabia became a country just over 100 years ago. So the idea that Saudi is supposed to be doing this for the Muslims and that for the Muslims, or whatever, is a country like any other country. They've literally been a country for 100 years, and they're supposed to do all. When you had Malik Faisal, right, King Faisal, rahimahullah, and he was actually doing for the Muslim world, and he got assassinated, right, by American corporate powers. Did the Muslim world back them next leader, or did they throw him underneath the bus? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
is how like there has to be a certain point where you can't just keep blaming the Muslim leaders. You know what I'm saying? Like the
Yeah.
rulers. You can't keep doing that. You know what I mean? Because you're if you know that all your rulers, like all of them, are like no good, what are you gonna do about it then? Tell the whole world that all the rulers are no good. Meanwhile, you leave Trump and Biden and Bush and all these people get no play from you because you're ready to talk about Saudi Arabia all day, and that's why I don't like talking about because of that. Because it makes zeros like these people who are very zealous against, and it's unfair because, like I said, Saudi Arabia is a country like any other country. It has its good, it has its bad,
Mm.
right? The
Mm.
same things we say about Saudi Arabia, we can say the same things about America, even much more about America because they're far worse when it comes to warmongering and you know
Yeah.
and mastering oppression and exporting it as well. That's
Yeah.
what they did. All they did is the system you see in Saudi Arabia. Who built that system? The Saudis? You think they did that system themselves? No, no, it was exported. So yeah, exactly, exactly. It was exported to by the British.
Yeah.
They're the ones who built their system. So you know what I'm saying? And that's the case with every Muslim country, anyways. So why single out Saudi? And that's why I keep saying the biggest problem in the Muslim world is not these Muslim rulers, it's white supremacy. That is the biggest problem. That the biggest problem in the Muslim world today. All these problems that you find with their wars and their politics, and it's because of colonial and imperialist powers that have imposed their wills on these Muslim countries. So even if you change their leader, if the system doesn't change, then what are you really changing? Except for a whole bunch of nothing.
Yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely. I mean, you know, and the you mentioned Muradin Muhammad. I had the opportunity to speak with African American brother of mine, Jamil, and he was telling me about how you know, after he, you know, converted the nation to Sunni Islam, which is the largest mass conversion people don't talk about, the largest mass conversion to Sunni Islam, like the last, what, 200-300 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And no one ever mentions that.
Yeah,
it was a very collective movement by the African American community. And, you know, when this particular brand of Salafia came to the United States, it kind of changed the whole game, and this created a lot of conflict between their children and their parents, because the parents they lived through the whole Nation of Islam or the Muhammad transition. So, I mean, do you think that there's a movement back to that the African American community is starting to unite upon Islam again, because they're seeing that, you know, that you know, the particular brand of Salafia. I mean, my Aqidah is more on the Salafi side anyway, but we're talking about the cultural aspects of it. Like, he was telling me that, like, in Philadelphia, they, you know, they wouldn't let Muslim women drive cars. Like, it was like they would import a lot of these, you know, like,
that's
cultural. Yeah.
That ain't got nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
So that has nothing to do with us. There's a specific reason why Sheikh bin Baz made that fatwa for Saudis, you know, and he left that fatwa for Saudis, not for the entire world, you know. Yet, and what you find, as with typical with any Black organization, is, of course, it got infiltrated. Of course it did. Duh. You know, of course that happened. You know what I mean? This is U.S. government policy to infiltrate every single Black group and make sure it never has any effect except for under white supremacy. You know what I mean? That's been policy since J. Edgar Hoover days with COINTELPRO. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even before that with Marcus Garvey. So anyway, what happened was Salafia came, and it was spreading like wildfire. Like, you know, it was like everybody was accepting Salafia, right? And then what happened was Spubs and Troy, right? Now, to be fair, Troy in the early days was all about dawah, right? I know, because I was a large part of it. You know, I was one of those main people in Troy, right? So a lot of the converts, Troy was like a place where converts can go and feel safe and feel brotherhood, and it was like that at one point. And then it changed when, you know, long story short, when, you know, Abu Khadija started influencing the center, right, directly, you know, with those two, you know, liars, Omar Alundi and Ahmed Hassan, you know, those two, like, oh my God, they're pieces of work. But anyway, that's a different story. I have it all on my channel anyway, if you want to hear the whole history behind those two. But anyways, you know, they basically saw that they can manipulate these two, and they were forced on the community directly. They were forced on the community by Musa Richardson and Salafi Babu Khadija, right? The people didn't want in Toronto, didn't want them, right? And because we didn't have enough knowledge or whatever, you know, that's what happened. And so now the Dawah is dead in Toronto because of that, right? So, but anyways, that's infiltration. You mean to tell me that Musa Richardson, who doesn't live with the people in Toronto, and Abu Khadija, who doesn't live in the people with the Toronto, are going to tell the people in Toronto how they should run their Dawah all the way overseas? What do you call that in the English language? What do you call that? Has to be infiltration.
Yep.
Has to be infiltration. You know what I mean? So now you're telling me that I can't make any moves in my own city until Abu Khadija tells me I can make that move. I got to ask his permission first. And it's either infiltration or it's a cult. Which one is it? Which one is it? Why I need this guy's permission? Who is he? Who is he? But that's not just there. That happened in Philly. That happened in New York. That happened with the entire Dawah because of Salafi publications. How were they able to do that? They were able to do that because in those days, the only Salafi websites in any language was SalafiPublications.com. So they were controlling the information. And this is straight out of the playbook of Nazis. Okay, if you control the propaganda, you control the people. Salafi Publications, all it was a propaganda machine. And because they were the only one, they were able to control the market. And because they understood SEO, which is search engine optimization, all these type of tricks, they were able to optimize their website so that all the traffic will be driven to their website and their shadow websites. Whether it's medkhalise.com, asharis.com, they have all kinds of, aquanis.com, all these shadow websites under Salafi Publications. And Troy was the, even though Troy was never really as bad as Salafi Publications, what Troy was able to do was that their audio section in those days was top notch. So everybody would go to troy.org to listen to audios of the ulama, translated, hundreds of audios from all kinds of shayukh, Sheikh al-Baz, Sheikh al-Bani, Sheikh Amin, Muqbil, Sheikh Rabi'a, you name it. All the shayukh were there translated. And you can listen to entire lectures. You can just go to the Troy website and just listen to lecture, and you're getting like some real knowledge, right? Go to Troy website right now and see what's on it right now today. See if you find any lectures.
I will.
go and see if you find any of these lectures with the ulama today.
No, I absolutely will. I'm gonna take a look at that. Yeah, no, it's just to see basically what's up.
All you're gonna find is what they're selling you. If we're selling, oh, mashallah, we got this great deal on this book and this great deal on that, and we need $12,000 to fix our furnace, and that's what you're gonna find. Wow. That's what it turned into. That's the Salafi Dawah today. So the Salafi Dawah now has become this thing, right? Where it was actually helping people and changing lives and calling people true. Now it's this thing where all it does is has people perpetually donating to a mosque and calling themselves Firaqat al-Najiyah and calling everybody else Ahlul Bid'ah. That's the Salafi Dawah today.
Wow. SubhanAllah.
Does that sound about accurate?
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. I remember as a joke, I had a good convert friend of mine he was from an Italian background, but he was really getting wise to what these websites were doing. And I remember he came back from Umrah and he had a picture, just a photo of him with I think they were like what do you call those guys? I don't know if they're Diobandis or Brelevis or one of the subgroups from Pakistan or whatever. He was basically just taking a photo with him, right? So what I did was I called him up and I left a message on his machine just as a joke. I'm like, Adamo, assalamu alaikum. This message is for Adamo. We saw your photo. You have now been placed on the list of the Mubtadi'ah by SalafiPublications.com. Please email back to reclaim your Salafiyah. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I hung up. And then he thought it was real. How did these guys get my number?
Are you serious?
So afterwards, once he figured it out, he called me back and he was just laughing his head off. But I mean, this is, whenever you see movements where people are trying to divide and conquer, you can tell that there are, greater forces at play, right? And I'm going to put forth this other hypothesis to you, and I just want to let you know what you think about this. Is that in addition to trying to divide people who are already Muslim,
Yeah.
there's also a big campaign to co-opt these current movements going on in conservative circles and steer that in the direction of anti-Islam propaganda. And their focus is on that as well. So what they'll do is they'll get these conspiracy theorists or alt-right propagandists. For example, Alex Jones. His job will be to do is to corral these white supremacists or MAGA supporters or whatever conservatives, and steer them in the direction of it's the Saudis or it's the Muslims. And by that, what you're doing is you're making Islam look as bad as humanly possible, so that the people who are, I guess, have these misconceptions about Islam will never ever think of even approaching a Muslim. And even if people who are interested in Islam, from people from European backgrounds are going to be too afraid to actually look into it. Would you think that that's something that they've tried to do as well? I mean, or what's your take on that?
Historically, in conservative circles, that's always been the case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as far back as I can remember, anyways. So even way back in the 90s and when the Gulf War and whatnot, it was always the conservative brass that kind of was going after the Muslims like that, right? But that's all part of the same system anyway. It's these two groups that are vying for power.
Yeah.
But they just kind of like work together because, like the conservative brass is like, that is like the blatant, like in your face white supremacist machine, right? But because of language, they can't just say we're the white supremacists. And they've never just said that. Historically, they never just said that, right? They say other things, right? To make it look like that they're just people, but they're not really just. So they'll say, for example, like back in, when slavery had just finished, what did they do, right? They offered black folk 40 acres and a mule. They never gave it to them. Then they offered white folk 160 acres free, right, under the Homestead Act, right? So all these white people started coming under the Homestead Act, and obviously they started becoming wealthy off of free land, free education, free machinery, to build this land and farm it. Black people didn't get nothing, but yet they made a law, right, to favor who? To favor the homeowners. What is it called? Vagrancy laws. The vagrancy laws weren't to put white people in jail. The vagrancy laws were meant to put black people in jail so that they can be leased out as slaves for white people. You understand? So they hide behind language. So they're not going to outright say, oh, we're against the Muslims or something like that. They're going to say, we're against the terrorist, like George Bush did. We're against the terrorist, right? But who are the terrorists? The terrorists are the Muslims. He's not going to outright say we're against the Muslims. It's only Donald Trump, right? It's only Donald Trump who was just saying it openly.
Yeah.
Right? He was, no, we're against the Muslims. We want a Muslim ban, right? Somebody's got to tell us what's going on. We don't want any Muslims coming in this country. He's just saying it. But we want to keep the Mexicans out. He's saying it boldly and bluntly. They would hide behind language before. They would say, no, we need stricter immigration laws, right? Who do you need stricter immigration laws against? You need stricter immigration laws against the Mexicans and the Latinos or whatever, Latin community, Muslim country. But they're not going to say it like that. They're going to hide it and package it. But Donald Trump, he wasn't about the hiding stuff. He was about like just saying it openly, you see? And that's where that friction in conservative circles started, because one of them is trying to be savvy and the other one's just trying to be open. But what did Donald Trump end up doing is that he's ended up starting not just a national movement, but an international movement. If you can get 74 million people to vote and sign off on your open and blatant white supremacy, that's a movement. The only reason why Joe Biden won that election is not because he's savvy or smart or, is helpful to the people. No, he won it because he's not Donald Trump. So 85 million people voted for Joe Biden because he's not Donald Trump. And anybody could have been a Democrat and would have gotten that 85 million. Whatchamacallit? A work boot could have ran for president. You know what I mean? My left work boot right here could have ran, for the Democratic president and would have won because my left work boot is not Donald Trump. But those 85 million that voted for Joe Biden are not nearly as partisan and excited and about it, for other words, as the 74 million that voted for Donald Trump. You understand?
Yeah.
They're not down with Biden like that. They don't love him like that. Those 74 million who voted for Donald Trump, they love him like that. You understand? So when he's talking about the conservative circles trying to keep white folks away from becoming Muslim, this is a thing. Yes, this is a thing. This is a real thing. They're trying to scare white people from becoming Muslim with the terrorist talk. Yes, we know this, right?
It's pretty obvious.
It's obvious, yeah. It's a fact, right?
Well, I mean, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but there are some other prominent people, white people who were on the right, who were originally in anti-Islam parties, and they ended up converting to Islam after they looked into it. We just interviewed one of them on the Mad Mamluks. His name is Joram van Klafferen. So they're starting to see that that liberalism and individualism is just destroying societies, and that it's leading to very low birth rates. It's leading to alcohol abuse, everything that's haram, fornication, pornography. And the only thing that can really act as a bulwark against that is Islam. So I guess the question is, since we're have this interview time, and me with the channel that I represent, how do we find a solution to this? In that we help to make Islam more, I guess, make it so you facilitate the ability to look into Islam. What are your thoughts on what we're trying to do? I mean, do you think that it can be effective? I mean, what are your general thoughts on it?
You should be talking to your community about it, of course. Yeah. Your Islam for Europeans. Yes, of course you're going to talk to Europeans, white people, about Islam. These are the people you should be talking to because you're white. You know what I mean? And you'll be able to speak their language and how to communicate with them, right? In a manner that is comfortable for those circles. Like someone like me, you know what I mean? I'm a Black person, right? So Black people, because of all the trauma that we faced for the last 400 odd years, we have a way about us of being forward, and you know what I mean? And the way that we articulate ourselves is like just kind of in your face. You see what I'm saying? And that might be uncomfortable for some people, right? Because you have your white fragility and stuff like that. People might have some guilt, and we're not trying to make you feel guilty for being white or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's not that. It's not that. But this is the things that happen. So someone like you now, who knows what the minds and what's going on in a white person's head, can now communicate to them in a better manner than someone like me, for example, because you already know what that kind of what you call culture, that the way of thinking in those communities. So you're well more equipped to communicate with these guys than I am, right? So for me now, my concern is doing something like what Daniel Hakikuchu does, right?
I don't think you have to worry about that. We're not,
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah. So Daniel Hakikuchu, right? What he does now is that he's out there like putting up this massive facade. Okay, this type of it's like this type of fake attack against LGBTQ and Yakin Institute and everything like that, and the liberals and But what he's really doing is that he is weaning Muslims into becoming alt-right in their politics. That I have a problem with.
Right.
Because it's all the same system. If it's under the democratic system, it's white supremacy, whether it's liberal or conservative. You understand? For the first 300 or so years of the West, you had conservative politics. It's only within the last 100 years or so, you start seeing liberal politics. It's kind of taking over, right? And how were they able to do it? They were able to do it by appealing to other communities, like the Black community, like the immigrant community, and whatever. But it's the same. Like, what people don't understand is it's just a game. You know what I mean? If you are playing in a democratic system, it's a numbers game. It's always about numbers, and there's only two numbers that count: the numbers of supporters, or the numbers in terms of dollars and cents that you have. That's it. That's the only thing that matters. So either you're gonna vie for support, or you're gonna vie for money. The conservatives vie for the money. The liberals vie for support. That's it. That's all it's about. So if you're out there pushing white supremacy as a Muslim, alt-right politics as a Muslim, knowing full and well what it is, talking about the liberals this, the liberals that, and Ilhan Omar and Omar Suleiman, all this, but don't have anything to say but praises for Donald Trump. I'm in praises. Like, you know what I'm saying? just praising Donald Trump day and night. You know what I'm saying? And then what are you really saying? You have work to give dead people. Okay, go to Daniel Kikuchu's. Even watch. Had a series. It's called "Pandering to White Supremacy." See what the stuff that he said. He's putting this stuff out there. Some things like white supremacy, Sharia, and white supremacy, and like trying to mesh it together, and what you call it, singing the praises of Donald Trump, and speaking ill of Breonna Taylor. Who does that? Like, even if you have an opinion,
it's just not his place.
Yeah. He even spoke ill of Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King. This is Daniel Hakikuchu. He has work to give Martin Luther King, but has nothing to say against Donald Trump and people calling him Ustad, the man who studied Arabic for 6 years and can't speak Arabic, doesn't understand Arabic. According to him, he doesn't understand Arabic, but he studied Arabic for 6 years. According to him, the man who studied Aqidah with Imaduddin Abu, what's his name?
Abu Laith?
No, Abu Hijla. Abu Hijla.
Okay.
Abu Hijla, Imaduddin Abu Hijla, right? Maturidi Ashari Sufi. Okay, and he's all on these Salafi channels, all these Salafi people putting him up on his channel, right? Talking about Abu Toba and stuff. But about Abu Toba, and what about Aqidah? What about his Aqidah? Mm. It's just, see, people are kind of like, see how cheap people make the religion,
Yeah. Well, one of the critiques is, though, like, this is where you have to draw a fine line, because, there are people on the right who have said positive things about Islam, and they say that they want to reach out to Muslims. Now, for us, we feel that we have a duty, first of all, to set the record straight, because even though what they'll do is they'll look at these things that anti-Islam people use against Muslims, whether they're true or not, and then they'll actually say, well, what are there are positive things that have that because of this. Which is, first of all, these things are not true, or they're half truths in the first place. But still, even though they say there's really positive things about Islam and we want to learn more about it, that information still has to be cleared up. So how do you draw the fine line in still saying, do you still talk to these people? Because if you don't, they're going to keep saying the same lies without knowing. And then, and then people will just be none the wiser, and it's going to perpetuate these lies to thousands and thousands of people.
Bro, the problem is not talking to whoever. You're supposed to talk to whoever in Islam. If somebody's not Muslim, you're supposed to call them. It doesn't make a difference if they're a Satanist. If they're like, why? None of that stuff matters. Whether he's alt-rights, even if the person's in Ku Klux Klan, right? I can't talk to a Ku Klux. I can't, but you can, right? Right? You can talk to them, because I can't talk to them about it.
We haven't yet.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, right? So the point that I'm trying to get is, as a Muslim, what is your politics supposed to be? It's supposed to be liberal or conservative, right? And I say it's neither. You're a Muslim. Yeah. You're a Muslim. Like, what does liberal or conservative have to do with you? That is a system built by white supremacists for white supremacy only. You're just living in it. That's it. You're playing in it, right? And as a Muslim, you're supposed to be thinking of how we can spread this religion and dominate the system and teach the people the truth. Right now, we're in a position of weakness, correct? Mm-hmm. So why are you trying to play from a position of weakness to more weakness? Shouldn't you be trying to play from a position of weakness to strength? Mm-hmm. So this idea that you're going to play all right, left politics, right, and order the Muslims to do it, and this is what immigrant Muslims have been doing since they've been coming here. Since they've been coming here, they've always been liberal. Any of these equality organizations, they accept liberal politics, and they talk about the democratic. How many khutbahs I heard about the democratic process in Islam? You know what I'm saying? What does democracy have to do with Islam? Democracy is like a system, like what, a couple of thousand years old. You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with Islam. We have an Islamic system. You should be trying to promote the benefits of an Islamic system. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But what you're really saying, when you accept this democracy as an Islamic system, what you're telling me is that the votes of educated, a religious practicing doctor counts exactly the same as the heroin, prostitute, crack addict in the street. That's what you're telling me. And you're saying this is an Islamic thing. You see what I'm saying? What does that have to do with anything? So now, what we know about the democratic system, 74 million people signed off on white supremacy through democracy. Do you sign off on it? That's all we want to know. Because 35% of those people, 35% of the Muslims who voted for Donald Trump. That's a problem. That is a big problem.
I think, wasn't it 7? Well, I know I miss numbers, but I think 17% of Muslims voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Whatever the number is, I mean, I have no sympathy for Donald Trump. I think you're not going to get me to vote for a guy, who has a neighborhood named after him in Israel. I mean, that's so. Yes. I mean, they're all. I mean, both parties are just totally rigged. So I mean, like.
Yeah. So now, if we understand this, then what should we be doing in order to get, our own power? Like, we should be making power moves, not like these type of symbolic moves, begging your oppressor for rights and stuff. That's weird.
Yeah.
Well, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do the Jews do? The Jews, they don't They don't care who's in power. They don't care if it's Democrat, Republican, liberal. They don't care. They have the money. Whichever party is in power, they know that that party is going to fulfill their will. There's a small portion of them. There's a large portion of us. We can't do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, one of our biggest detractors on our channel is actual other white converts. Everyone else supports us, like all backgrounds support us. But the critique I hear from some white converts is that we shouldn't be collectivizing as a group, because that's racist to give dawah to other white people. I mean, like, first of all, we're not an exclusivist group. I mean, if other Muslim from any background, if they want to help us out, in our endeavor, they're more welcome to come along. We're not being, I mean, if we were to open up a brick and mortar place, all Muslims would be invited. It would be a place of solace for all Muslims. It's just that the mandate would be to, call our people to Islam. So, I mean, I don't think there should be a problem.
Hey, bro, let me just cut you off there because it's getting late. I want to make salat. Inshallah.
Yeah, you know what? I got to pray too. So yeah, we'll pray Maghrib and then we'll reconvene, okay?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. May Allah accept your prayer, brother.
Ameen, and you too.
Ameen. Yeah, so yeah, getting right back into it, I was saying, because I had a debate with another white convert, and we agreed on some things, and that's saying that we agreed that when a lot of times, and I'm going to talk about the white savior position soon, because a lot of mosques will try to accommodate these white converts and give them these like really high positions, like in mosques, like mosque director, or like they'll have them do the khutbah, they'll shower them with gifts, and it just,
we get the opposite, by the way.
I know.
We get the security guards. we get to take out the garbage, clean up after y'all, after you eat food, after iftar, sweep the masjid and clean the toilets. That's our jobs.
Yeah. So in short, we're completely against these type of white savior roles for several reasons. That's one of them, is that that does nothing. It creates a lot of animosity, between us and our Black Canadian or Black American brothers. It's unfair, it's unjust, and you're putting these people in positions that they're really not ready for.
Huh? Yep,
unqualified. Yeah. And you can study, and the thing is, you can study, like Islam for years, and study Hadith and Quran and Tafsir, and still give opinions on what a particular community should be doing, even though it might be technically Islamically correct in the in the literal sense. You never really lived the experience of those people, and it comes off as incredibly callous at best and really racist at worst. I'm not going to name names, and even though I absolutely love the brother, sometimes they'll say something about communities where, I mean, like, yeah, you can say obey the leader all you want, but how much can one people take for years on end? And that's where I'm with that. I mean, it just doesn't work. And having a sub community instead would remove us from those white savior positions, and instead we just be giving dawah to our own people. And I think that's a better way of looking at it. And I don't know, I mean, but I think we're in agreement there.
Oh yeah, that's actually ingenious. Actually, it's just like, who else are you supposed to make dawah to? You know what I'm saying? If it's not your own people, you're supposed to make dawah first to obviously your family members, those are close to you. You know what I'm saying? And every prophet was sent to who? Their own people or some other people?
Their own people. Ya qawmi.
Yeah. Even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, even though his message was for the world, he was sent to who? He was giving dawah to his own people. So the idea of this idea is intrinsically intertwined in the Quran itself and the message of Islam itself. You know what I'm saying? So of course you're going to make and to organize yourself to making dawah to your own people. This is something that should be done, especially if we can come together as Muslims, because you see this problem and I see this problem, right? So we know that this is a problem. If we're going to wait for the people perpetuating the problem to fix it, will it get fixed? No, we're the ones who have to fix it.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah, I know. I know. I just can't sit around. And, a lot of the times it's for security reasons too. I mean, I'll give you two examples. There is a very prominent imam, well-known, and I'm not going to name names, but he said on national television, I'm not going to sit down and and talk to a racist. That's flat out, like I'm not going to, and, I could totally understand where he's coming from, but for the white sister who converts to Islam, then her father's like, I want to talk to your imam. If he's going to say no, which is totally understandable, it's still a fard kifaya. And that sister, is in a very delicate position because, if we can't help lower her father from like a -100 to a -90 or a -80 to the point where she can actually practice her Islam without getting kicked out, that's where we would come in.
And these are the details that immigrant communities they don't get because they've been practicing Islam for generations. So they don't understand the dynamics of a convert household.
Yeah.
Period. They don't understand how somebody can get kicked out their house or even abused for practicing Islam.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can understand where they're coming from in the sense that, especially people coming from Palestine, where all you do is get chased around by white people all day and have to go through all these checkpoints and have to deal with the IDF. And then you come to the West, and it's like going to the border is like going through a checkpoint, and seeing a cop, is like seeing an IDF soldier. So it's I can understand why they feel this way. So I'm not trying to denigrate their experience or get angry at them for not saying, why aren't you going to talk to this sister's father? It's just a different problem, because think about it. For us.
Well, if
go ahead.
Not to cut you off, but if a person says that they're not going to talk to a racist, right? That's their opinion, right? If you come from a household where you know that your parents are racist and you're trying to call them to Islam, right? And the imam is now out of the picture, then who does that responsibility fall under now? Falls under you as a white person, right? So now you have to try to convince your parents of Islam, and you have no support from the imam at the masjid. So now, where are you going to get the support from? Is it going to be from the people in the masjid or from your own people? You see? So it's all intertwined. Your problems in your community are not my problems in my community. I know my problems and I know my problems in my community. And you know your problems in your community. So you are more tailored and you are more suited to fix those problems. And when you fix your problems in your community, it's like fixing my problems in my community.
Yeah, because the way I try to pitch this to them is that when they see Islamophobes, they see Trump supporters protesting at a mosque or throwing a pig head at a mosque or spraying graffiti on a mosque or trying to rip off a woman's hijab. Those are our aunts, those are our uncles, those are our fathers, those are our mothers, and that's the best thing that we can do as white converts, is to give dawah to those people. So I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. I mean,
for me, it makes more sense that you talk to these people and hopefully they become Muslim through the grace of Allah. Then you have people on your side, you have people on your team, and you make the community bigger and stronger by that. You understand? Whereas, as opposed to someone like Daniel Hakikachu, who was trying to say, yeah, you could be Muslim and white supremacist as well. You understand?
Yeah, I mean, that's not what we want.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So by that approach, you actually fix two things. You fix the problem in the Muslim community, and you fix the problem in the wider society. And this is something that Islam is supposed to be doing. Is this happening right now? The answer is no. Why is it not happening? It's because, again, the masajid have become cultural centers. And that's not an accident. Yeah. Neither is the abrupt, thwarting of the Salafi Dawah in the mid-2000s. That was not an accident either, right? Because the Salafi Dawah was spreading like crazy in the Black community. The many people from the Wahhabi Muhammad community became Salafi. Many of them, right? So you find that a lot of the Wahhabi Muhammad community now is just kind of aging. They're getting older. This will be the case with the Muslim community as well. Mark my words. It will be the case where you find the masajid become like the churches because they're operating exactly like churches. There's really no difference. They're not thinking about expansion. They're not thinking about growing the larger Islamic community, going out into and spreading and making. They're not thinking like that. What are they thinking about? They're thinking about preserving their own specific communities. And when you think like that in an expansionist religion like Islam, Islam by nature is expansionist, and you're trying to keep it consolidated within your own communities, you're not going to expand, nor are you going to consolidate. You're just going to lose. You're just going to lose, right? So what you're saying now about reaching out to your community, this is the expansionist mindset that we should have, right? Because you understand your people, you know what they're thinking, you know the type of xenophobia they have, and you can reach out to them and you know, call them to Allah. It's like Musa went to Fir'aun, right? Fir'aun, Allah already knew, obviously, that he was going to destroy Fir'aun, right? So why go through the whole ritual of ordering Musa to call Fir'aun to Allah? Why do that? Because you have to establish the proof at least first, the hujjah first. Even though Allah knew, Musa didn't know. Musa didn't know, right? And you don't know, maybe Allah will guide, you know, your parents, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins. You don't know, right? But to go in, and then on one side you have Muslims saying, I'm not gonna talk to a racist. That's their decision, that's fine, right? But give you the option to talk to a racist then. Right. And then the other hand, you try to find people, no, you can have your Islam and your white supremacy too. Like, what? What are you saying? You know what I mean? Hiding behind language. You know what I'm saying? Hiding behind language. Daniel, he get you with, oh, in Islam, we're all brothers and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, Martin Luther King, you know, the liberals support him. Like, what? What are you saying? What?
Anyway. I want to ask you this. I mean, because I read in Malcolm X's autobiography that he mentioned that white people should form all white groups and teach anti-racism to white people, but he didn't mention that white converts should be doing this thing. I mean, can you comment on that? Did he expound on that, or was that just a product of the time? Because at the time there were no white converts in America, or very few.
Yeah. So Malcolm actually said that. He also said that if white people would accept Islam, then this would be the solution for our problems in the West. He actually said this, right? But there was a white person reaching out to white people specifically and teaching anti-racism for almost 60 years. And I strongly suggest that white people listen to this woman. Her name is Jane Elliott. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. Jane Elliott, teaching anti-racism for 60 years. And people intentionally tried to brush her under the rug for decades until they couldn't anymore. That she finally became popular in the last decade or so, right? But watch her videos. You will be shocked. You will be totally shocked, right? Her experiments. She was on Oprah as well back in the 90s, I believe, or 2000s. You know what I'm saying? So yes, people, this is This is a white person, a white woman, reaching out to her own people, right? Teaching white people about racism and getting results. And that's how that's how it should be done. You know, there's a lot of Black Muslims, you know, they always refute the Nation of Islam, right? I have a massive problem with that. Not because I'm a Nation of Islam supporter or anything like that, but because the Nation of Islam inherently is not the enemy to the Muslims. You understand? They're not trying to destroy Islam or anything like that. There is no type of what you would call it. There's no Muslims leaving Islam to become nation.
Mm.
That's not a thing. It doesn't happen. You understand? And their Aqidah, of course, is jacked up. You know, but any Muslim who knows even just a little bit about Islam can refute their Aqidah, their entire Aqidah in 30 seconds. Okay, like it doesn't require any amount of, you know, a lot of thinking or analysis. You know, you're talking about people who believe that Allah came in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad. Just that statement alone is enough of a refutation of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what more do you need after that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You need anything more after that? They believe this.
I know.
Okay? All right. So why are you spending like articles and articles and articles refuting them when you can be calling them to Islam, especially since you know that after Elijah Muhammad died, the Nation of Islam died with him. The Nation of Islam, when Elijah Muhammad died, the Nation of Islam died with him. You understand? The Nation of Islam, 3 things happened after Elijah Muhammad died, right? Either they joined his son, Wallace Din Muhammad, they became regular Muslims, or they left Islam altogether. And that's the same thing that's going to happen when Farrakhan dies.
Mm.
So reach out to them.
Mm.
Why are you, as a Black person, basically, you know, cutting all the bridges that you can with the Nation of Islam when you know that they're inherently not the enemies of Islam? They don't have anything against you, and they never speak against Muslims, right? They're the enemies directly against white supremacy, which you should be fighting as well. Reach out to them and call them to Islam, call them to Tawheed. It's the same thing with these people. It's the same thing. What Jane Elliott was doing with its anti-racism, she's reaching out to her people and she's getting results. That's what we should be doing, but we don't do that. We spend our time fighting each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean the main concerns of I guess you can call it the pro-Muslim end of these nationalists,
mm-hmm.
who are I guess they're very anti-Trump, by the way, anti-colonialists. They never wanted these wars in the Middle East to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Their main contention is, we're people who are just dying out, and we're drowning in all this degeneracy. And Islam seems like a way, a way forward in that, we, would be able to, survive. But so I think when they hear, the common ground is they want us to reject white supremacy. I think in the sense the way that they define it, they would think, okay, we don't want to engage in any of this colonialism anymore. And I think, even though, hopefully Islam will be able to help find some common ground with that. And that once you convert to Islam, you have 1.8 billion Muslim brothers and sisters. And you are now in a situation where that this time in your on earth is very limited, and you are trying to gain the pleasure of Allah, and get good in this life and the hereafter. And also, you want the same thing for your Muslim brothers and sisters. And that's the beautiful thing about Islam, is that even though you have previously peoples that really despise each other, even when we look at the Sirah, the Aus and the Khazraj were engaged in a war that lasted generations, and Islam united them in a way that, no one truly believes, for them, for their, how does the hadith go? I forgot. Until you believe, wow.
You don't truly believe until you love for your brother what you love for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Islam, it just puts your whole entire life into perspective, and there's nothing that can, eliminate racism better than that, because now it's like, your whole mindset about this world is that the only thing that matters to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taqwa, at the end of the day, and everybody is going to be judged fairly.
And that's where the superiority is. It's in the taqwa. It's not in the color of somebody's skin or their ethnic background or even their lineage or anything like that, right? However, saying it and living it are just two completely different things. This statement, what you just mentioned about taqwa, right? This is what people say in order to kind of pander towards white supremacy, especially Muslims. What do you mean by that, Bilal? You know how many times I've been told as a Black person, there's no racism in Islam and we're all brothers and blah, 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 blah. And even Hamza Yusuf, you listen to Hamza Yusuf, right? And I remember listening to Hamza Yusuf, and I can't remember but he's giving his talk to, it's like a multi religious interface, something or the other like this, right? Mm-hmm. And a Black woman, asked him a question, and he's like, yeah, and the marginalized communities, and there's no racism in Islam. I mean, the typical, you know what I'm saying? So Black people, especially converts, they ain't got nothing to prove to nobody. Okay, we already proved our loyalty to the Muslims, and we have been stabbed in the back time and time and time and time again. You understand? So I come, particularly in my channel, and I don't play that. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, I say very openly, right, and boldly that yes, I am a Black nationalist. I believe in Black nationalism. I don't believe that Black people, or Muslims for that matter, should be trying to fit in and strengthen and bolster white supremacist society at all. As a matter of fact, I think that's butt backwards, to put it lightly, right? And that Muslims need to prove their loyalty to us. We don't need to prove our loyalty to anybody, period. We donated, we've supported, volunteered, picketed, went to your marches, all kind of stuff, just to have other groups crap on us time and time and time again. You understand? Mm-hmm. So the brotherhood, what you're saying about loving for your brother what you love for yourself, this has to be a real thing. Your strength is my strength, and my strength is your strength. If you don't see me or want me to be as strong or even stronger than you, we can't be brothers. If you can only see me in a light where I'm underneath you, you feel me? Where I'm either shining your shoes or driving your car for you are cleaning your house or something like that, right? If that's how you see me, that's not brotherhood. We can't be brothers. And I say that very openly. You understand? It can't, this type of catchphrase dawah, putting the dawah in a bunch of statements and slogans. This is actually killing the dawah. Because while other people are actually making moves and progressing, we're still stuck in the slogans, and we think that the slogans is what's going to help, and it's not. What's going to help is real tangible gains, real power moves. And you're not going to make power moves until you actually and really love for your brother what you love for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to see your brother as powerful as you or even more powerful, then we'll be successful. But if you can't see it, and every single time your brother says something, as this is a common theme with Black people, whenever Black people mention anti-Black racism, we get accused of Black nationalism like a slur or a type of a slight, you know what I mean? Oh, he's a Black nationalist. Well, guess what? Yes, I am. Now what? Now what can you say now? Which excuse are you going to say to try to beat me down now? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you want to, because, I would love to see, the type of work that we're doing and trying to give dawah to our people. I would love nothing more, and I'll make dua that African American, African Canadian, our brothers and sisters in faith, reach the highest level, via Islam, in calling their people to Islam, and increasing their iman and getting closer to Allah, and then reaching new heights for them. So I would I make dua, and I hope that Allah blesses your community and really helps you guys achieve like the highest level, via your efforts in giving dawah and everything. Just, do you want to elaborate on what you mean by a nationalist? Do you mean that because when people think nationalist, they think an ethno-state with clearly defined geographic borders. Mm-hmm. But when I hear you say that, what you mean is that you want your community to collectivize and become stronger as a nation. Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Not only that, you got to remember that Black people in the West, in the diaspora, right? Whether it's North America, South America, Caribbean, right? We didn't come here as immigrants. We came here as free labor, as commodities, as chattel. So we are a nationalist people in these nations. You got to remember that even in Mexico, in 2015, that was the first time Mexico recognized its own Black people as citizens. And it's 2015.
Wow.
Mexico, okay? This is going on all over the West, right? Black people in America happen to be the richest Black people on earth, and that includes Africa. And yet still, look at their condition. You understand? Because there is a system in place which keeps Black people as a permanent underclass. So as long as you are playing in that system, and this is what the immigrant Muslims do, they don't come here to call the poor Black ghetto kid to Islam. They come here to benefit off of white supremacy, even if it means stepping on that poor Black ghetto kid, even if it means an Arab has to open up a convenience store selling alcohol and pork and all like loose cigarettes in the Black communities. As a Muslim, they'll do it, and they do it.
That's awful.
They do it. You understand? So we don't have a nation as Black people, right? And this is why I love Canada, because in Canada, you're pretty much free to do or be what you want. And this is a blessing from Allah, right? So it's my responsibility as a Canadian and as a Black person in Canada to speak up for my people. Because if the richest Black people on earth are in America and their state, their condition is like that, then what about the rest of the world?
Assalamu alaikum. So that was part of my interview with Brother Bilal Harding. from the Feachaz. Unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, the video had to end early, but we will be planning a chance for us to conclude this video in the future, inshallah. So just so people can subscribe to his YouTube channel is called The Feachaz. And I'm Robert from Islam for Europeans. Make sure to subscribe also to our channel as well. Thank you very much for supporting us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.